Good. Do you like your pull-up?
Absolutely, looking good, looking good. I think we're broadcasting now.
Okay. I'd like to welcome all the children of the world to this webinar.
I'm just going to give a quick rundown of CelticCon and a few things that we're doing. So
yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, people, this is the first of a brand new thing that we're trying to do. So part of the Comic Cons we would have panels, and panels consist of panel discussions with a lot of people, attendees at the conventions. So it could be writers and artists, could be talking about publishing, could be talking about various bits and pieces. So CelticCon is Ireland's Midland Comic Convention. We're based in the Dunamays Arts Centre in Portlaoise, and last year we joined the guys in June Fest in Newbridge, so you know that because you're on the June Fest thing here now. So it's a host of fun, interactive and exciting attractions, comic village, geek market, cosplay and more. So we were founded in 2016 with Martin Moore of Celtic Comics of Portlaoise, sadly no longer with us, Ashley Curran from Tyrone, and Nate O'Keja from the Guild of Nerds cosplay team. And the first two events were ran in O'Loughlin's Hotel in Portlaoise, and I was an artist at the very first one, and the second one I was asked to get involved and book some of the guests. So I was only half an hour away from, I'm living in Portarlington at the minute, and so I joined in and started booking guests. And last year then we had two events, one in Portlaoise in the brilliant Dunamays Arts Centre, our good friends on our base, and the town hall in Newbridge at June Fest. So we're all about including people. A lot of artists, a lot of writers, they're kind of a bit lonely. They don't play soccer. There's lots of facilities there for people to play soccer and games and stuff. But if you're a person on your own, a creative person, we are a group for ye. We're all very open to everyone. LGBT plus, sorry, and a few of our members and friends and family are all on the autism spectrum, so we're very conscious of that stuff as well, and we cater a few games and stuff. And look, it's great having all the kids and stuff dress up as superheroes for the day, and we're all about that. Become your favorite superhero and your favorite thing, and come join us, have a bit of fun. First of all, I'd like to thank some of the guys in the team at June Fest. Without them, it's not possible. So we've Joe Butler, JB Design, who does all our animation and editing and stuff like that, and Anne Balfe, my right-hand person, and she looks after cosplay and all that. And then we've Connie and Chris and Lexi, and Laura, Michelle, Rebecca, our two Daves, Nate, Square Coffee were great to us, Judray Beans, Weimar and Chris Pender, and we've a load of other people that we touch in out, and they're all on our website. And this thing has actually been brought to you by Kildare County Council Arts Acts Grant, and this is the very first of the lockdown chats. Good evening, Mario. Welcome.
Good evening, Dave.
How you doing?
If you're a lonely artist and you need to talk to somebody, talk to Mario and Dave at June Fest.
Oh, don't talk to Joe. Talk to Mario or Dave. Yes, look, it's crazy times. Lockdown. What's it all about? How's it affecting you? How's it affecting work? How's it affecting the family?
Well, I mean, one of the things you'd think that it would be a better time with writing or whatever, but I can't. Getting yourself actually motivated these days is a real difficult thing. I mean, it's too easy just to slip into that mode of turning on TV late at night and whatever. I watch movies with the kids and stuff like that, but yeah, just strange days. The libraries are all opening up. We, the library, opening back up to the public by appointment today, which was strange. You can ring one of the library's leak slip and you can make an appointment and come for a designated time, you know. Really, the world is upside down at the moment, you know.
Absolutely. Did we think this was going to happen in just before Paddy's Day in March, you know? We didn't think we'd still be at this, you know. Yeah, so look, I'm kind of like yourself. I'm still working away. I work in Pfizer in Newbridge, and we're still working away, and we're busy, keeping the show on the road, as I say, you know. So Mario, you're a writer. Myself and yourself kind of realised on a test run last night that we've actually been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved? How did it all start? How did all the writing happen for you?
Well, I suppose, look, I've been writing for years in terms of historical stuff. I mean, the first book I published was in 1998, All That Delirium of the Brave, a little book on County Kildare in 1798. And there are loads of ones around Kildare town. But the first kids book, the idea for Do Fish Wear Pyjamas came around about 2009. And I remember we had a meeting. I suggested, I think it was for the very first Kildare Readers Festival, and they celebrated the 10th year of that last year. And I suggested that everybody who came into the auditorium would write a one-liner and put it on a strip of paper, and we put it into a big bowl, like a goldfish bowl, and then we'd use those one-liners and fashion them into a book and create a book, because it's all about creating stuff. Someone at the meeting said, yeah, I know someone in Dublin who could do that for you. And I just balked at the idea. Because to me, there's so much talent on our doorstep. And I mean, you don't have to go far from Newbridge to figure it out, you know. I mean, between Orla McAlinden and Kieran Bean, you've got like Pádraig Kenny, you've got, you know, all these wonderful, Eileen Keane, all these brilliant people. And that's just in the Newbridge area alone, you know.
Yeah,
so,
look, we're the same. Like I go back and forth over there to Woodbine Books in Kilcullen, and that's just a little hub of creativity. All the people that just walk through that doors, and I've met so many people like some of the people like Orla McAlinden and that over there, and such lovely little community. And Newbridge is absolutely buzzing for music and creative talent. And even the Junefest lads did a DJing set there last Friday with Nixon Fairbanks, and there's two boys were in a bog, all done live, went out on Facebook live, and just the creativity of that I just thought was lovely, and some really great production on that as well. Peter Fleming was the guy he used to have like drone footage of the lads going around, and it was actually too good. I was actually questioning, was it live? But then I had a chat with Steve during the week, and Steve was still nervous about it. So then I thought, okay, it did actually go out live, you know. So just a bit about yourself, Mario. Look, where did you come from? What school did you go to? And what college did you do? Or how
I mean, Kildare. I mean, I was born and raised in Kildare, and went through the usual primary school there and St. Joseph's Academy. Had a few years up in UCD doing history, on and off, back and forth a few times. But then just ended up with a job in the library. But I mean, it was always creative. I mean, I was in bands from an early age. Coming out of school, playing the Kildare Derby Festival on the square. My God, you'd think you were in Madison Square Gardens or something, you know? And I mean, I was running gigs. We were running gigs at the age of 16 or something for Old Ogres and St. Vincent de Paul and all of these things. So you were always involved, always surrounded by people who were creative. And again, musicians-wise, Newbridge, Kildare, amazing. And even writers-wise, again, don't forget Mark Malone, of course, like worked. God. We're blessed in this area. So when it came to the idea was to get people up, and we could do it. And I think, in fairness, Dave, we proved we did. You know?
Yeah, Martin Malone has a lot to say for himself. You know, he's kind of responsible for me as well. So just my thing, like I lived in Newbridge actually, in Dara Park in Newbridge, till I was 8 years of age. Went to school in Murrah over there, so some people may remember me. Went to Kildare town, then moved down by the Children Factory there. Everyone knows the Children Factory. And just went to school. The school is actually from the Do Fish Wear Pyjamas books. And went to St. Joseph's Academy, just happened to be the same school as you, but we didn't know each other then. And went on to do animation. And I was just saying how I was had a strange thing, because I actually knew at kind of like 12 years of age the route I wanted to do. At the time in the 90s, I was big into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there was this strip in the Sunday World. I remember clearly, and I had it for years. Sadly, I've lost it now, but it was like a 5-step walk cycle of one of the Teenage Mutant Turtles. And I just thought this was the coolest thing. So I started doing flip books, this animation flip books, using the steps what the guys were doing. And then I remember putting my own character, a little kind of alien guy into it. But I had this strange thing where I knew at kind of 12 at the end of primary school that I wanted to do animation. So I went all the way through secondary school with a goal in mind, which is quite strange. Like at 12 years of age, knowing what you wanted to do. I suppose I was lucky, and I had this clear set target that I wanted to do, you know. So I got through the Leaving Cert just about, as people do. I could have done with the 2020 Leaving Cert actually for my year. That would have been handy, Mario, wouldn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say. I know a couple of people in Kildare now. They're just after going to. They're having a graduation in the car park in the village tonight. I mean, that's kind of upside down as well. But I mean, yeah. I mean, we just have to get on with it and learn how to deal with it. But yeah, weird. I mean, it's really strange, you know.
Really strange times. And to be honest, there in March, April, kids are doing school things on a web, and it's just like. Felt so sorry for them. It would have been really unfair. Look, I'm having a joke. I have not having to do the Leaving Cert, but it would have been really unfair to let them sit doing exams with all this going on.
You can write a book about a global pandemic, you know.
So the thing is now we're living through it, and I was actually thinking like this. There's going to be no zombie stories or anything because we're living the apocalypse, and really realize now that all you have to do is stay at home, watch Netflix, and stay in your pajamas for most of the day. So like
back to pajamas, Dave. Good one.
Back to pajamas, yeah. So look how I suppose we better tell people how myself and yourself actually met up.
Yeah.
So I bought a house in 2008. Looked at all the walls of the house and realised there was a bit spare. So I started picking up the paintbrush and doing a few paintings. And I actually did an interview with Martin Malone. So there's the connection there again. In the Leinster Leader, Martin was doing interviews and stuff, and I had a great chat with him, and he did this kind of 2-page spread on me, and I had to set up a website. Like, what's the point of having this article in the paper and not having a website or anything? So I suppose like I was always tipping around doing creative stuff, always drawing, always doing bits and pieces, but not really telling anyone. Look, if you're in my circle, like, you knew what I was doing. But back then I was actually even developing a TV series and stuff, an animated TV series, an adult animated TV series. We're actually really ahead of the game, but look, that's might talk about that in a future episode of this. But so we had a painting exhibition in the Derby Festival in Kildare Town actually 10 years ago.
Wow.
End of June 2010. So we've been at this for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I suppose a little happy accident that you ended up being there in the first place. Do you remember that?
Yeah, somebody asked me to host or to launch the exhibition. I've no idea why or anything. I had published a couple, I suppose, walking tours at that stage around the town. But I mean, maybe nobody else could do it. Everybody else left or something. You know, I don't know. But I got the job. And it just turned out to be your art exhibition. Really strange. And the minute I saw the strange art on the walls, I said, I have an idea, a cunning plan.
I have to mention there was 2 artists at the time. So there was Eamon Elders as well.
Yes,
amazing painter at the time, and he now has his own business, the Creation Station. Really cool, creative guy. And we've actually met up a few times because he was actually a stormtrooper in the Emerald Garrison. There's one of these troops to go around to the Comic Con. So he was doing that for a while, and I remember meeting him, and he was bringing me back, putting the kids on the speeder bikes and all this crack, you know. I suppose another thing I wanted to say, just kind of Newbridge connection as well, that like I always did, even when I left Newbridge, I was entering competitions like community games and the credit union competitions. And I remember one of the first things I ever was awarded was a Newbridge library for my art. First thing I was awarded for my art was actually Newbridge library, which you were working for a couple of years. And I actually got to meet one of my heroes, one of the things there as well, Mr. Don Conroy. So he was at Newbridge Library there, and I got to meet my hero. So real cool connection. Like we didn't go too far. Yeah,
I
another
suppose, look, it's important to acknowledge as well, I mean, the role of libraries and whatever, and the art service and that as well. Because honestly, like for people who are starting out, for struggling, the opportunities, and even now with online and whatever, but the competitions, the driving force behind kind of a lot of people's creativity comes from, yeah, a great kind of local county art service and library service. And that's really, really important. It's great to hear you say that about the community games and that as well, because I mean, a lot of people like get that their first kind of focus or their first bit of success maybe through those type of competitions. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I remember being like 13 or 14 and representing the county with some colouring pencils in Mosney, doing the arts competitions, and yeah, it's a bit of fun. Bit of remember going off to Mosney for a weekend or a couple of days, and all the kids were there were like under 10 soccer teams and stuff. And I was much older and stuff, but yeah, look, great times. Like another great Newbridge connection to my story as well is Mr. Kieran Bean. You know Kieran well from both music
Yeah,
and
great guy.
so he was the art teacher in PBS in Newbridge. But I was very, very lucky as well that I had Kieran for two really key years for myself. So I had Kieran as an art teacher in the academy in Kildare for my junior certs and my leading certs. And one thing Kieran did, now I had a few teachers and some of them were really good and they taught the curricular stuff as well, and all that stuff was all, you have to do it and it's all there. But one thing Kieran actually did as well, he realized what I was into and he really pushed me in what I was into and introduced me to some other artists that maybe influenced some of the guys that I was into. So I would have been into like Jim Fitzpatrick and that, and Kieran would be showing me like some of the artists that would influence Jim Fitzpatrick and a few things like that. And I was mad into Celtic art and design, and he was telling me all these kind of backstory of how the Newbridge and all this sort of stuff, how the art and all came about. So that was all really, really influential to me. And Kieran was one of the first really encouraging people as well to just kind of point me in the right direction and say, yeah, you're good enough at this, keep at it, keep doing it, you know. Yeah, so look, we did the Derby Festival, we met up, you went off doing a few workshops with kids. So do you want to tell people how the first one, Do
Yeah,
Fish Wear
well, I mean, I
Pyjamas?
remember seeing that image you had of Colin Malone, George, as we call him, who's happens to be Murt's son. But I mean, you had him; he was dressed up as a clown, and that was just stunning. And I said, at some stage, I have an idea for a book. But the idea for the book turned out to be instead of taking strips of paper off people at a readers' festival, we went into the classroom and 4 classrooms as it turned out. And the schools in Kildare were amazing. They were really, really behind it. They were doing one book, one town, and they gave us access to 4th class, which for whatever reason, 4th class kids are absolutely brilliantly poised to be just, they can see anything. It doesn't matter whether it's space aliens, dead Vikings, it's all real to them. They want zombies, they want vampires, and they want to go underground. And I didn't necessarily grant them those wishes. But I walked into the 1st class and said, we're going to write a book. And they all went, oh, okay, yeah. And I said, it's called Do Fish Wear Pyjamas. They burst out laughing. And the character is called Bebob and they burst out laughing. And that was it. We had them. But I mean, I didn't know where it was going to go after that. That's all there was. There was Do Fish Wear Pyjamas, which my mother had said one time to my daughter. And it was just a stupid, funny line. And it
Yeah.
stayed in my head. And Bebob Zibbity Bob, or Bebob for short, because I told them that I wasn't going to write that 100 times or keep writing it all day. And they started describing Bebop, and they immediately decided he was a space alien, which kind of put a lot of pressure on me to kind of, to come up with a story later on. But 4 classes, 2 boys, 2 girls. At the time, they were split schools, and we developed the story as we went along. And you had to run into a class and say, okay, we're at this point. This is what's happened up till now. what happens now? And they just went, they lapped it up, loved it.
Yeah.
And they gave me vocabulary, a list of words, and then it was up to me to write that for about 6 months, or 3 months maybe, to get the story down in some way to you. And then I knew you were going to turn it into this masterful illustrated masterpiece.
Yeah,
Or
look.
actually, I had no idea what it was going to turn out like. I had no idea what you were going to do, and it was a huge gamble, because the schools at this stage were invested in it. Great support. The library service agreed to support it as well. But I mean, still had no idea what it was going to turn out like.
I remember being at work and getting a phone call, and Mario Corrigan, oh yeah, I met you a couple of months back at this stage on your exhibition. And I was like, yeah. I said, and you said to me, do you remember that thing you agreed to do? And I was like, oh, what did I agree to do, you know? Then you told me the idea, you told me what you were doing, and I said, look, email it on to me and give me a look at it and see what the crack is, you know? So I actually have here the very first version of it. So I just say to guys, look, you're asked to illustrate this book, and what do you do? And what's the first thing you do? And the guys always go, oh, you have to design the characters, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I say, hang on a second. First thing you have to do is read it, you know what I mean? So this is the very first picture, and like normally we do talks in school, or we do it in a library or something. Say, look here, look around you, all the books, all the school books and whatever. So this is what we have to do. So when we go into, we're talking to kids in school, I always tell them, like, this is one of our projects. So this is like a project that they might do in school, where you have to go home and you do have to do all your research, and you have to look up this and you have to look up that, and all that sort of stuff. But so the first thing I did was I get the script, print it out, and I go through it, and I get through some different notes, and I would do a few little. Now this is going to look terrible on camera, but there's the very first sketch of Bebop and Brídín. So
it's kind of scary looking there, Dave.
He was, yeah, but the description was great. I remember, like, the descriptions come down. I was actually laughing with one of the guys in school, because his little kid is actually reading it at the minute, and he's mad to get a mohawk. This little 6-year-old in Newbridge, mad to get a mohawk, and he's reading this book. Daddy, Bebop's a mohawk, you know.
I can actually do that for him. I'm a licensed hairdresser now since COVID-19.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Once his father or mother draws 2 lines down, I'll actually take away the rest, you know.
Oh, awesome. Listen, they're branching out. That's all the innovation for the lockdown. Great stuff. But no, look, I remember, like, writing down all the notes. So, like, this character needed a mohawk hair, red sheen skin. He'd blue, red, green, purple eyes. He'd elf-like pointy ears, a scar over his right eye, and a spiky back. He'd pointed teeth. And he had red triangle-like markings, like tattoos all over his body, and he had 2 fingers and a thumb. But
you're reading that to me now, and I can remember the frenzy that was in the classroom when they were shouting things, pointy teeth, a tail. They had to have a tail for some reason, mohawk, all of these mad things, and just jotting down words, and absolutely the kids just amazing. And I mean, that was the point of it. It wasn't 2 or 3 clever kids in the class. Every single one of them participated.
That's a great point you just make as well. Like I do as well, and we do. Like there's 1 or 2 kids that are better than others at art and stuff. And when you go in and do these things in school, yeah, look, you want to really encourage those kids to keep at it, but you want to bring the rest of them as well. And you just kind of say what you can do. Say, hey, what can you do? And that's also very important as well. Look, teachers are brilliant these days. They're really, really creative, and if to find someone in stuff, they can bring them along, you know. Yeah, look, the boys had an absolute ball designing Bebop, and I remember my whole thing was you. So remember, you gave me all these photographs, and they're all like these stylized pictures and stuff. And these were the images that you were putting in the book.
The locations.
And I was only supposed to do the cover. And I said, look, I remember saying to you, like, Mario, I will do it. I don't care. Like, it wasn't about getting money and get paid or anything like that. It was like, look, I will do it, but we're going to make this look like a book that's on the shelf. And in fairness to you, you kind of said, right, no problem. Like, we didn't want this to be like a thing that's just stapled and handed out, and the kids are all get a free copy. We run it through a photocopier. We actually went all out and said, look, we're going to produce a book. And so I went off. I did a few character sketches, and I always tell kids, like, when you're an illustrator and stuff, you have all these magic tools that you use, and kids are always like really interested. And then you say, first magic tool I have is sheet of paper. The second one, sorry, I'm flipping my camera around, so I'm going the opposite way. Pencil, just pencil and paper, and actually just draw the ideas. So when I read through, I always tell the guys as well, being an illustrator and being a reader, it's kind of the same thing. So if you're reading a book and you're imagining all these worlds, all these things that all the characters do, the difference between an illustrator and a reader is we get those ideas on paper and we develop the artwork into proper sketches and we render them up then for the covers and stuff. So yeah, I remember doing a few characters. I suppose I just described Bebob there. And then I have the original sketch of Bebob. Just pencil and paper, no magic tricks. Pencil paper.
It's behind me.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's actually the same guys. This is literally just a pencil sketch. And I would have taken that into my computer, then scanned it in on an A4 scanner, because that's what I had at the time. And I remember quite clearly when I did these books, I had a graphics tablet from Lidl that cost about €50, and I was producing these stuff with illustrating kids' books with a €50.
God bless Lidl.
Ah, absolutely. So Lidl, there's your little plug. I know you have a big multi-million facility there in Newbridge, so maybe you want to come on and help the guys out in June Fest or something, you know. But no, look, seriously, I just went on, did a few drawings. We had a lot of time on the first one. I remember having nearly 3 months to work on it, and I was working away. And again, like, the thing is, none of us knew what we were doing. We definitely didn't know how to publish a children's book. And I had no ideas. Yeah, look, I could do the drawings, but I had no idea of how to transfer that over to a published book. So we're really trying to figure it out. And I remember one of the ideas I had as well, and I didn't tell you this for ages. So I remember doing like the round tower and doing the cathedral in Kildare and doing a few bits and pieces. And you were kind of getting worried. You're like, Dave's taking his time here, you know, I really need the book cover, we're going to print. And I remember we had this crazy idea of actually making the front, spine and back being one image, and my God, we hadn't a clue what we're doing technically, but we did it anyway. But I remember then sending the email across to you, and like, this was pre-broadband, pre-fiber, but do you remember they sending that email across to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd been after you for a long time at this stage, and it came true, and it just took my breath away. And I mean, not just saying it because you're there. I mean, I was waiting. I don't know what it was. I had no idea what to expect. You know, I mean, it was kind of, let's get it done, because again, you're saying we didn't know what we were doing, but I'm great like that. When you put your mind to it, it's going to get done. You know. But it has to be like of good quality, and you don't want to go back to the guy and say, "Dear God, this is just not good enough. This is not what I wanted." And the moment I saw the cover, all I could say is, "Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's amazing."
So the cover, what we did is we had the good guys on the front. We had the Viking, the bad guy at the back. and we put the whole lot into one of the big battle scenes at the end of the book, which takes place in Kildare town. So we have the round tower, and we have the cathedral there, and yeah, look, there's some high crosses and a few things as well. But yeah, look, I kind of took a gamble on it. We took a gamble on it, but it just paid off. And I remember the fun when we just launched that book. I know we gave out like 4 classes of kids free books, but my God, that was a special day to us.
Yeah, but you had over 100 kids that were involved. So their families, their parents, the teachers. I mean, honestly, there wasn't a space in that library, and it's a big library in Kildare Town. I still believe that on that day, passing in and out, we had about 400 people at that launch,
Yeah,
which, like anybody will tell you, I mean, if you get 60 people at a launch, it's a successful launch.
It was
that was amazing.
It was a special time as well, because the library was only renovated, wasn't it? It was only kind of done up.
Yeah, again, it's 10 years open this year.
Yeah. So brand new, we're right in there. And they had the One Book, One Town, which is actually significant to my first graphic novel. So do you want to tell the guys about the idea of the One Book, One Town?
Yeah, no, but I mean, honestly, the point was to latch on to a book and read a book like Do Fish, or like The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas or something. Yeah. Everybody would read it, and then you bring an author, or you develop it out into the community. But instead of reading a book, I touted the idea of writing a book to them, and it was Aidan McKeown and Sister Breed at the time, and they just ran with it. Donald Fleming, who's still there as principal today in the combined school of St. Bridget's, and they just loved it. They jumped on it all over the place. And they made it that special, so special. And you still meet them. I still meet kids today, and they say, "We wrote that book with you," you know. And like you talked about someone reading it at the moment. I was due into that school, the 4th class, who were reading the book on the 4th of April this year. Every single year, whether it's Newbridge, the Corrag, Kildare, whoever wants it, we have class sets, and the kids still love that book, you know. Don't know what it is, but it's just amazing.
It's really special. I think we had some really cool things. So just so we had the idea, and how did the other books? I know.
Yeah, well, I look at. I mean, the great idea is can you do it again? You know, I mean, it's the second album. You know, I mean, getting all the good songs out and putting them onto an album is kind of supposedly, you know, the dream. But once you have that, you suddenly have a marker that you have to kind of, can you meet that? Can you do that again? And instead of doing it in Kildare, I wanted to know, could we do it somewhere else? And I wrote to a couple of festivals. Dublin actually, strangely, came back and said, "Oh, look at Mario. I mean, we've got like three girls here who've written 4 books each. They didn't see, they didn't get the point." But Listowel, which is one of the biggest writing festivals, is the biggest writing festival in the country. They took it on, and a lovely woman called Gwen, who we know well, in Shearscale Festival up in Roscommon, took a chance as well. So I knew nothing about Listowel. I knew less about Roscommon, and got in the car and went, and again ended up in 4th class. In Listowel, developed the idea and then threw it at you, and then did the same in Roscommon. But you remember one thing, when they combined the schools in Roscommon, the book was called The Battle of Coleman's Wood, and they were blown away. They know it as Roscommon, which in Irish, it translated Roscommon, Coleman's Wood.
I remember
when they combined the school, they called it Coleman's Wood. The school, you know, what a tribute.
Absolutely. No, I remember the excitement of that. So I remember I was working on the Listowel book, so we kind of got the green light for that first, and I was working away and was getting kind of comfortable with what we were doing with that. And then the Roscommon book happened. I remember we were doing 2 at the one time, and it was a big mad rush, and I remember then that Searscale wanted, for their press launch, they wanted to have the finished book, and we were like under real pressure. So we had like the the first book I had 3 months to do it, and we had plenty of time to figure it all out. And then I remember working on the Stoll book, and I just realised there's a message going through.
Get off the air.
No, there's a question. There's a question come through. It's not my phone now. It's coming on this. Yeah. So I remember all that going on, and I remember the great buzz of it as well. And then like the Stoll. So Liz Dunn, and I remember the girl's name. I actually wrote it down now.
But they threw me into a car and drove me all over Listowel. I ended up in a country school. I started off in a school where Brian Moore, famous novelist, had actually taught. But I ended up in school at the country, and I said, did anything ever happen here? And they said, oh no. I said, anything ever exciting? And the young fella turned around and said, not unless you consider the lads that were shot just out the road. And that germ of an idea was the War of Independence. 4 lads were taken by the Black and Tans into a field. 3 of them were killed, and 1 of them escaped after being shot.
Well, hey, look, if
Brian Moore had written a story about it, or a poem about it. Everything just gelled together, and then you got to design Black and Tan.
I was just going to say that if you're going to do a villain in an Irish children's book, make it the Black and Tans. It's so much fun.
And everything that, you see, that's the thing again, because the question actually mentions fictitious history. And we can read out the question. But, I mean, in that book in Listowel, you have the stealing of the crown jewels, which is true. You know, it's a true story. Supposedly Shackleton's brother was supposedly involved. You had the murder of the guys at Gortnaglana, which happened. You had a raid on the RIC barracks at the time. All these things that you could mold and use, and there's education involved, obviously. I mean, everything in Do Fish Wear Pyjamas. Like, I mean, the Grey Abbey, the Black Abbey, St. Bridget's Well, the Round Tower, the Vikings raided Kildare, you know, 15 times. You know?
I suppose you're kind of answering there, but there's a question came through here. It says, do you think presenting local history in a fictitious story gives children a better opportunity to engage with the town around them?
Absolutely. I mean, I wrote an article one time. It was published in Irish Writing.ie, and it was Who Needs Hogwarts? And the point of it is that J.K. Rowling imagined and created this marvelous landscape which people got, you know, devoted to and still are. And yet we have these marvelous, gorgeous names all around us, you know, all these places, all these little Donnelly's Hollow, you know, the Gibbet Rat, all these brilliant things just on our doorstep. And I remember a young fella coming to Kildare one time. He arrived at my doorstep to get the book signed at 8 o'clock in the morning. His grandfather brought him down. The poor fella was nearly shaking. He couldn't believe he saw the Round Tower. He thought it was made up. He didn't know it was a real place. And that's the value of it. You can teach people their history in a child-friendly, fun way when you're talking about monsters and zombies. Well, there's no zombies, but I mean, there are some scary characters in there to kind of whet their appetite, but you're also educating.
Of course, another big landmark in Kildare town is Kildare Village. So I love kind of telling kids as well, oh, look at, you know, that kind of old monastery, old church ruin at the back of Kildare Village. And they go, oh yeah, the one beside the playground. I said, yeah, that's it. That's Grey Abbey. That's where it all kind of kicks off, you know.
When the village came to Kildare, they were looking for ideas for statues and street art as well, and they came to us, and like I sold them on the idea of the 2 wolfhounds, the 2 dogs, which again was replicated later on at Ballymanny Roundabout. But I mean, nobody was talking before that about Fionn McCool and the 2 dogs, Bran and Skjolan. And one of the best drawings I've ever seen of Fionn McCool is the drawing you created. Now, the coloured version is stunning. But I mean, that again was a way of awakening kids to the ancient history of the ancient landscape. These 2 wolfhounds, Fionn, amazing. And they're in the village and they're on the roundabout. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. So the 2 dogs are in Kildare Village, Bran and Skjolan. But I remember we used the roundabout, the picture of Fionn, and we used the statue, and we actually just developed them into characters. So, like, spoiler alert, the dogs and the statues actually come alive in our thing as well. And also out the Hill of Allen was the old training ground of the Fina. So we had that in the story as well. So those guys actually get woken up, and there's a big battle in Kildare town. So the lads had to
Gotta
come
have a
across.
battle.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, that's the point of that question. Does it make the children engage with their surroundings? It should, you know. I mean, why can't this story, why can't a fun piece of fiction educate somebody about their surroundings? And I mean, if I could visit Hogwarts School every single day with my kids, I'm sure they'd be very happy to talk about Harry Potter and whatever. And I mean, yeah, you can read that story or the follow-up, and you'll find elements of the story actually sitting there everywhere you go in the landscape. We bring the kids on tours, and they can visit these areas, you know.
Just saying that, so you did the Kildare walking tours, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. We still do it, running from the Heritage Centre there, but if you strip back Do Fish Wear Pyjamas, there's essentially a walking tour in there. I mean, because of the where the kids go on the adventure, they find themselves jumping the wall in school and ending up in the National Stud and St. Bridget's Cathedral. So St. Bridget's Well and the Black Abbey and so on. So yeah, I mean, why not? Why can't it be fun and educational at the same time? I mean, people say, "Oh, what will I do? What can I write? What can I do?" I mean, it's all around us, you know. I mean, absolutely.
I suppose
Get a
I
blank
got,
page, Dave.
absolutely, yeah. Look, another question just came through there. So what projects have you got planned for the future?
Well, the ones with you, or that you don't know about yet, or
Well, I know the answer, but I suppose we might tell them, will we?
yeah,
Tell the rest of the world.
yes, yeah, go ahead, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose like I got bitten by the history graphic novel thing. So I went on to actually from One Book One Town. We went to, now I'll go in more depth in the next one and planning these, but we went to One Book One Town, and the book they were doing that time was Tom Crean Iceman, and they invited Mr. Michael Smith, who's an absolute amazing guy. So Michael Smith actually went to lunch with us when we were doing the launch of the festival and all that. And I remember having lunch in the Silk and Thomas in chapter 16, and all the teachers and yourself and all were talking about Tom Crean, and this guy Ernest Shackleton just kept getting mentioned. And I was like, I actually didn't know much about it. I knew about Tom Crean. I knew he was an Antarctic legend. I knew he was Irish, but I had no idea about Ernest Shackleton. And to my embarrassment, we had this County Kildare Antarctic explorer, and so I made this note to myself to say, look, I'm going to read one of Michael Smith's books, just in case I ever get to read them again. And my God, that just opened up. There's the local history connection as well. So, excuse me, a Thai Heritage Centre, just a couple of miles out the road in Kilkee, just beside Kilkee Castle, which is gladly back open now. Well, pre-COVID, back open again. Ernest Shackleton was born. Great family of Quakers there from Ballytor. So there's all that connection, all that thing as well with Shackleton's Rest, and there's a Shackleton's Suite in the Clanard and the Thai, and the great a Thai Heritage Museum is massive renovations happening, turning into the Shackleton Museum, and they're actually going to build. So they had commissioned a statue there a couple of years ago, which is absolutely amazing, and we got invited on, and my graphic novel came as well. But yeah, I suppose the next project that me and you are working on is a graphic novel on Michael Collins.
Yeah, and you're chasing me now instead of me chasing you, you know. Yeah.
I know,
I'm doing good, Dave. I'm doing good.
So we now have a public record on live on Facebook that Mario is actually going to finish the rest of the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, listen.
This evening. Oh, yeah, no, we're good. I've actually got. I'm on About 7 chapters out of 12 done now at this stage. So, I mean, you're not getting to see them until I'm them completely finished. But yeah, Michael Collins. But like, I've also a historical book on the executions in 1922 in Kildare that's been worked on. I have a historical novel. There's the possibility of another play. I wrote a play in 1916. And you never stop. I mean, there's always somebody asking you to do something, or there's always
Yeah,
a
look,
piece of art.
it's always quite generic. It's always quite. I don't really plan these things, but get moved. I suppose you become the art guy. I suppose I kind of had that from school. Oh, do a sign, do this. Someone else wants this, and years ago you just take on anything. But I went on to do some crazy stuff like managing bands and doing real just creative people like yourself. That I ended up for a while there managing a Kildare-based rap hip hop act called the Good Men, which was great fun there for a couple of years. And the two lads are actually doing an amazing. Sorry, there's three guys in the band, but two of them are doing this amazing mental health, straight talking mental health podcast. So you should look that up. Alan Clark and Peter Dunn, who are two
There's a question there. What other legends would you like to? I have to answer that one because would you like to write about St. Bridget, Fionn McCool, and the Hill of Allen? We did. They're all in Do Fish Wear Pyjamas and Ghosts of the Other Realm. But Dan Donnelly, I mean, there's the story, you know. I mean, wow. I mean, we're surrounded by it. Look at the Currow. You've got all these brilliant places, you know, as well. I mean, the what you call it, out in Clongowry. I mean, the evictions. I mean, if you want to create something, I mean, just using your own history, the barracks that was in Newbridge and Kildare, the Kildare Mutiny. James Darnley, we're doing at the moment, we're doing a music video to a song we did last year with Darren Brídín on the ferrets of Kildare, which is a huge escape from the Curragh camp during the War of Independence. But I mean, we're surrounded by stories. And there was another question, could teachers replicate this? Look at the actual work on the writing the book. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work in the illustrating of the book. But could you do it? Could you do it as a school project? Yeah, absolutely. The point about it was we didn't know what we were doing. But we said we were going to do it, and we did it. And as you say, those books are as good as anything else standing on in terms of their production value. They're as good. They've got a spine, they've got a barcode, they've got a beautiful cover and loads of illustrations and whatever. And they've got a couple of hundred names of the kids that wrote them as well with us. You know? So
yeah, look, I suppose like I got bouncing on doing a few different things. So I did that stuff for a couple of years. Did music videos for bands. I've always connected myself with creative people, and you always kind of get made up. So I was given how I ended up doing that. I was handed a CD of a few songs. And there's one song in particular on it. It was about suicides, and we all know Kildare Town and Newbridge. And look, there's no one in the country that is not affected in some way by suicide. I know that Newbridge Says No, amazing group, just happening this week, talking about this stuff. But it's important to do it. But I remember doing a music video with the lads, a hip hop act from Kildare and Mullingar. And with DJ Lee there as well, the famous Shane Lee, DJ Lee from Too Fat with Zig and Zag. He was the producer of the band. And we had some great time, did a few things. But the lads are all moved on, like Alan's psychologist now, and P is actually a radio presenter in LMFM. So he's doing some cool stuff as well. But I suppose that's how the Comic Cons and all, how this stuff kind of happens as well. Like, I know Steve from June Fest and stuff, when I kind of approached him about doing the Comic Con, and he kind of knew of me, and he asked me, was I the same guy that did stuff with the Good Men and stuff? And when I said I was, he knew that he'd kind of take a bit of trust. So thanks very much to June Fest and Steve for championing all that stuff, and going as well. But yeah, look, to answer the questions again, I'm working on another graphic novel with one of the editors from Collins Press, actually, Paula Elmore. We're doing a graphic novel on another amazing Irish character called Dr. Aidan McCarthy. And there's an amazing story of a samurai sword in a bar in Castletown Bar in Cork. And the story behind it of this man is absolutely amazing. So he just short. It's one of these stories where you tell a bit, I go, that's amazing. And then I go, like, I'm only starting. This happens, this happens. So basically, Dr. Aidan McCarthy was a doctor, went to London, and he got involved in joined the RAF by accident after a drinking session with some friends. They signed up to the RAF just to get a job, just to get a wage, and it just happened to be right before the outbreak of World War II. And he gets involved in all this stuff. So basically, on a short note, within a couple of months, he survives Operation Dynamo, which is, of course, was the evacuation from Dunkirk, and gets he saves a crew off a burning bomber in Honiton in England, and gets a really big award. I think it's like a knighthood. Well, sorry, not a knighthood, but gets one of these big medals. And then, as kind of part of that, he gets sent to Africa. And as the lads were on a big carrier ship, he gets captured by the Japanese and becomes a prisoner of war for the Japanese for a couple of years. And there's all these stories of the boats being bombed and stuff. And then he survives the bombing of Nagasaki. So it's just like, oh my God, this is like a dream project. So myself and Paul are working on that.
But the point is, isn't it, that there really is, it's just opening up your eyes. I mean, the point of somebody doing fiction is that they can use anything just to give them a spark of kind of creativity. I'm not saying it's easy in any shape or form. But if you want to do something, if you want to dance, you want to sing, you want to write, you want to draw, do it. Get the page. You don't have to be the greatest person in the world. You don't have to be, Beethoven to enjoy creating music. But you got to give it a go.
I was saying, and that's kind of the thing that we do with CelticCon and all that. So we'd invite these big guests over, a few good, really local people, like just in Newbridge town itself. Like there's a friend of mine, Alan Keane, who's a twice Emmy nominated writer, Emmy winning writer, and he has an office in Newbridge. All this kind of crazy stuff. And look, we'll go through some of that stuff as well. In later versions of this, but like it was just that pool of people, and of course Liam Geraghty, his amazing podcasts, Meet Your Maker podcast, and he did the Animation Island and all these really great stuff. He's another great guy from Newbridge as well. But yeah, look, I always kind of see these things as like a project. So I explain to kids, like if you want to be a footballer, practice. If you want to be a hairdresser, practice. Look, you have the internet there, you have YouTube, you have Google search, you have things like Pinterest. If you want to research.
And there are writing groups. I mean, there's local history groups. There's a group that came to us last year, I mean, Ink Tank. And I mean, they had an idea that they wanted to start a writing group. And I said, that's great. And by the end of the year, we had them writing a book, and they published their first book. And now they're publishing their second book, they're working on it. I mean, really get involved with other people as well. You were saying about, a lot of people don't, they can be quiet and introverted a bit, but they're creative. But I mean, reach out as well, because I mean, you get so many great ideas with the open mic nights or whatever it is that's available.
Well, that's it. Like if you want to do music, if you want to learn guitar or whatever, just keep at it. And guys, what we kind of do is we illustrated, wrote children's books, and we hadn't a clue what we were doing. So hopefully people get a sense of how we did them from this talk here, and how they can do it, and maybe do their own version. And I suppose, look, once all this COVID-19 all kicks off, like we're open to school visits and stuff like that as well. And kind of thing that we want to do with CelticCon is just integrate into the wider community, let people know who we are, what we do, and that's kind of the idea behind all these lockdown chats as well. And so just Zoom just happened to be the thing that June Fest kind of suggested. So the original idea with June Fest was kind of some of the book launches and history talks that they had planned, that they would convert them online. And fair play to the guys that actually approached us then about doing this as well. Well, look, hopefully this is the first of a few things.
We should have been doing a talk like last weekend. It was our military festival, and I mean that's every year. It's in the middle of June Fest, and that's why we can appreciate how great June Fest is to the community and everybody, and giving the opportunity. But I mean, they're the type of things where you bring these marvelous stories to life, you know. I mean, going to something like that, and listening and getting an idea, you know, to find out that there was a Kildare man who jumped off the back of the Lusitania and survived because he learned how to swim in the canal in Robertstown.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there are stories all over the place, you know, and just beautiful, great stories. The greatest prison escape in Irish history took place in Newbridge barracks, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, can you replicate the idea? Great question. Yes, you can.
So absolutely. Look, I know Martin Malone as well. Martin's a great novelist and writer. If people don't know his work, but he was going by the statue in Kildare town. It's this kind of white cross, and he's seen the guns on it, and he was just like, "What?" He looked at it a few times and didn't really know. I kind of asked around, and I know there was a famous lecture by A.J. Downey in Kerr where he explained who these guys were. Look, that stuff just inspires me to do stuff. And look, I've been trying to develop a documentary for a couple of years. And look, you never know what's next. If you get a bit of time, a bit of help, and a bit of break, that you can kind of carry these ideas through, you know. But yeah, look, we've big plans for the Michael Collins. Obviously, we've no publisher yet for it. We've submitted to a few places, but we haven't managed to do that. Look, we look at options in the next while for that. And my Dr. Aidan McCarthy story is with a publisher now at the minute. So fingers crossed one of them gets picked up in the next while. But yeah, I suppose that's another thing as well, that people don't realise the amount of hours that are involved in these things, and just yourself, like myself and yourself will have conversations at 1:30, 2:00 in the morning where I say
Printers always slag me because, like, I could send them an email at 7 in the morning or something, you know, and they're saying, like, do you sleep, like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I mean, when you're actually trying to get it finished, I mean, the quietest, best time of is that witching hour, 3 a.m. There's nobody talking, there's no kids awake, or there's no anything. But I mean, yeah, it takes its toll as well, you know.
I think as well, like one of the big things with you, Mario, that impresses me most is actually, like, you do the workshops with the kids, but people don't realise the skill, the crafting of actually putting these things together. And real credit to you. Like, it could be very sparse, and bits could be, this bit here could be good and this bit wouldn't be good and whatever, but like, you really pull it together. Like I suppose when you sent those things to other festivals, that maybe those people realised that they couldn't do it, and fair play to you that we got them going, you know.
One of the things I found out later, and actually from somebody in Newbridge who has Listowel connections, but they were a bit put out themselves because they wanted to do that idea,
Okay.
but something like that, but then they could never get around to it. So, which was an amazing thing that we were able to pull that off, to Kildare men. But yeah, I mean, just trying to see it through sometimes is the most important. But it's all down to the kids. Absolutely amazing. It's an idea that you can run with to any school, any district of the country.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm
Doesn't mean it's going to be good, but you can work on it and make it good.
We're coming up to an hour, Mario. Just kind of.
I thought it was only 5 minutes, Dave. You duped me.
I
It's
know,
Stephen,
yeah,
from Junefest. He's doing that thing again.
What are the books? Which is your favorite book of them all? Of the four
My
books?
favorite character, I could do that one, is a little girl called Brídín, which is the most unlikely character. I like the Listowel book because I killed Gordon Turner in it, which is gave me great pleasure. And the last book in terms of Ghosts of the Other Realm, Freddie McGowan actually featured in it, and it was very shortly before Freddie passed away. So it's an amazing kind of memory to have from that kind of enterprise. So there's personal pieces in all of the books that will stay with me forever. But I have to say, I probably love the Listowel book story-wise more than anything.
I think the Stoll book is definitely my favourite. And look, Liz Dunn and all the guys down there, they really looked after that as well.
Yeah.
And Liz was actually doing the walking tours of the the Writer's Revenge walking tours. Yeah, so
and myself, James Durney and Joe Kennelly won the Nielsen Local Heritage Publishing Award in Listowel around the same time, just purely by accident, for a marvellous book called Heart and Home in Kildare Town. But I mean, just to have those two connections, to be writing the kids' book with them as well. I mean, but yeah, a credit to you, credit to the kids down there. That's a beautiful little tale.
Oh yeah, look, I think we'll wrap up now. So I just want to personally thank you for starting us on the journey. Thanks for seeing something in that painting of Colin Malone and that clown, and just getting the spark and realize and having the belief of me actually going with on. So look, we've 10 years working away. We've published 4 books. The books are available in Woodbine Books in Kilcullen, Farrell and Nephew, Barker and Jones, Kildare Heritage Centre. Some of them are available in the Shackleton Museum in Athy. And yeah, look, if anyone's interested, some of the books are kind of out of print as well. And
Stephen put up the links to the tree that you can actually download for free today as well. But thanks to JuneFest, thanks to Stephen as well. Amazing.
Yeah. Look, I just want to thank all the guys JuneFest for giving us a chance to do this, and especially for taking the chance with CelticCon last year. And look, we're here for the long haul. We've unfortunately we missed the events this year, but hopefully we fill the gaps in with this. And we get some creative people online, let people know what we're all about from CelticCon and all these events, and let them know we're open to collaborate with other people with Kildare Readers Festival and all this sort of stuff. We think we've a lot of crossover, and the libraries and stuff for yourself as well. Even the Riverbank gave us a ring during the week to try to get a few things going. Fortunately, we couldn't do it for the summer camp option, but hopefully for the different things during the year that we'll be able to help each other out. So yeah, look guys, it's really hard, tough times for everyone. But if you could actually if you're interested, if you feel quality in this stuff that we're doing, maybe give the JuneFest guys a donation on their website. I know the quizzes and stuff they're doing. And guys, I know JuneFest is actually cancelled, but it's unbelievable the amount of work that's actually still going on with them. And Mario, you can appreciate, because you know the guys as well. Well,
it's not cancelled, it's just taking a new direction.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, there's still things going on, and look, there's all things with sponsors pulling out and all sorts of stuff, and because of COVID-19 and everything else is going, just a crazy world going. Look guys, keep an interest in what you're doing, get creative. We'd love to see some kids doing versions of our characters and making up their own characters, and maybe down the line we'll have art competitions and things like that. And on that note, I'd like to say thanks very much, and hopefully we'll see you again for Lockdown Chats number 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.